Bouncer, I mean, for the people listening at home or even watching, they might not recognize that you're like 800 feet tall.
That's
Yeah.
actually, I can't believe
That,
most people don't actually get it exact, but that is,
yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
exactly
I memorized. I
800 feet
memorized the
tall.
form. Yeah.
I was going to guess
Yeah.
800 feet tall.
700, so I was way off.
I am 800
Way off.
and I am 70,000 pounds. The only thing bigger than me is that fungus in Mount Rainier National Park. Do you know about that?
No,
They
what
said
is
there's like
that?
they said the largest living organism in the world is like this fungus in Mount Rainier National Park, and that's the only thing bigger than me. I'm basically
Wow.
just like six blue whales glued together, and it's hard to get the glue to work because they're all wet.
I got my sober curator necklace on. Can you hear it?
I can hear it. It's like a jingle jangle.
It's like jingle, 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 jingle.
Some intro music for you here, listening to the show.
Yes. I got this. A maker on Etsy made this for me.
That's very pretty. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But that's not why we're here today.
It is not why we're here.
No.
We are here not just to talk about my amazing accessories, but to also talk about amazing people that we encounter in the sober community. And I have recently discovered he's my new best friend, Sam Miller. He's a comedian out of Olympia, Washington. And for those of you that don't know, Olympia is the state capital of Washington State. And I grew up in a small town of Centralia, which is located about 20 minutes south of Olympia. And so Sam Miller and I pretty much kind of grew up in the same hood. And so that in and of itself kind of bonded me to him. But then I went and saw him live at one of his shows in Tacoma. And first of all, he's 6'7". I think I got that right. He's 6'7", and he like owns the stage, right? He's a big guy, So that in and of itself just like sucks up space, and you just want to pay attention to him. At least I do. But maybe I have an affinity for giants. I don't know. And he's funny. He's so funny, and I don't know if everyone will appreciate his humor. But excuse my little cough there. I get choked up when I get excited. But I think if you are someone like myself that identifies as being in long-term recovery and hitting a pretty gnarly rock bottom, then you'll probably find his humor really funny.
Yeah.
But if you're a sober ally or sober curious, I think you'll also find his humor funny, but maybe not appreciate it in the same way others of us do. So I can't wait till you guys could hear more about Sam, because he is hilarious.
Yes, he is a great guy, and love his drink choice.
What was the drink choice again?
La Croix.
La Croix.
I just wanted to say that because I don't know if I said it in that manner while we interviewed him. So
And this episode is not being sponsored by La Croix,
right.
but it could be La Croix if you're listening.
Yep. Hit us up.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Should we?
Okay. Yeah.
Let me jingle us into the episode. Jingle, 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 jingle. All right, Sam. So one of the first questions I want to ask you is, humor is often a survival tool for those of us in sobriety. So I'm curious how comedy helped you process your difficult emotions, and were you funny before you got sober, or what does that look like?
I was funny before I got sober, but it was like really tumultuous. So I think the same things that make me want to be really funny are the same things that make me want to get drunk and high all the time. So it's a good way to kind of deal with emotions that are uncomfortable to me, whether I'm too excited or angry or whatever. Like humor can cut through that. But like I said, like I really wanted to be funny, and there were times when I was funny, but I always took it too much, like with drugs and alcohol, like I'd take it too far. Like me and my friends would prank each other, and a lot of times that got out of control. Like we thought that was really funny to do like really heinous things to. And then also when I was incarcerated, I would try to be really funny, and sometimes that got me into trouble too because I was usually
Sure.
talking shit to other inmates and whatnot. But anyway, on the flip side, like after I got sober, like that all changed, and I immediately became much funnier because when I'm sober and I'm clear headed, I'm able to really kind of know the score in these social interactions that I'm confronted with all the time, and also the inherent like the hilarious nature of like addiction and alcoholism, like this idea that we're like allergic to something and we can't stop doing it. Like it's very funny, and then also that shared experience that we all have. It's like it talks about like being all in a lifeboat together, basically. Like the folks that I know that have made it out of the places I've been to make it out of those is something that should be celebrated. And laughter is like the best way to celebrate. And laughter is also, this is other thing that I think is really important too, is like laughter is something that like that they can't take away. And when I say they, I mean like society. Like there's such a stigma on drug addicts and alcoholics still, especially somebody like me who used methamphetamines as much as I did. And like I could still run my mouth. Like I could never, like they can't take that. Like I can still be funny. I could be in jail and be funny. I could be homeless and be funny. Like that's something I can't lose. And I think that's what makes it that important. And also it's a weird connection to my past too, because like the things that I joke about oftentimes are incarceration, homelessness. And also I think a lot of it now is like this idea about like, am I a citizen now? Like, am I just like some regular guy? And what does that look like? And can I pull that off like that? Yeah, yeah. So it's a great question, though.
I did hear a rumor. Can you confirm or deny
I know
that
it's coming.
downtown Seattle got wallpapered in posters on dumpsters that said Sam Miller used to live here?
I wasn't downtown Seattle. It was Olympia.
Oh, downtown Olympia. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Downtown
and
Olympia.
I figured out who it was. I didn't
You did?
ask anybody to do that. Yeah, and they're
That's
they're
a good
awesome.
prank, though. That's a good prank.
Yeah, yeah, and you know they did it. It's funny because the guy kind of did it himself, and I think he got a kick out of it. And he works with young people, and like there's a lot of young folks, especially folks that at this alternative school, and they get a kick out of me, and that's really dope. That makes me very, very proud to know that I get that kind of support, especially from Olympia.
Yeah.
Very proud of that.
Well, that's a good transition to talk about your transition from chemical dependency counselor
Yeah,
into a stand-up comedian. Like, talk to me a
yeah.
little bit about what it was like to be a counselor and then what that transition was like.
Well, I like to say, like, I was already struggling. So when I started doing comedy, I was doing an internship at the time. And I was working at like a 12-step facilitation place. I was running groups. I was doing a lot of assessments. That was like our main deal. And also doing a lot of drug testing, which I didn't really like looking at all those truckers' wieners. But what are you going to do? It's like, my wife would be like, how was work? And I'm like, I saw 6 wieners today. From these truckers, because the truckers they'd get in accidents and then they get drug tested. And I'd be like, all right, trucker, let me see that wiener. And then they pee in front of me. And I've been like, they're ingrained in my mind. I can't forget. Even right now as I'm talking about it.
Now, I mean,
Let's
I
think
could,
about
yeah,
trucker
I'm
wieners.
going there too. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them, you know, I'm a straight fella, but, you know, some were better than others.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even as a straight fella, I could tell a good wiener.
You
Anyway,
can appreciate it. Yeah, you can appreciate it.
yeah, that's how you know I'm really straight. I can,
Oh,
yeah. It's never mind. I'm just gonna be weird. The question though that you asked was a good one. Basically, stand-up comedy made it so I couldn't be a chemical dependency counselor anymore. So I was working in Grays Harbor. I wound up working at a methadone clinic, doing. Or I'm sorry, you're not supposed to say methadone clinic. You're supposed to say medication assisted therapy, which is whatever. I love how we use these language to like
Harm
make
reduction.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, make people
Yeah.
feel better, and it's good, and I like it because, but I've been there, so yeah, and I had really good rapport with my folks, and what's cool is that the patients on my caseload, they actually tracked all this stuff here, and my patients had the best UA results. I was doing very well with the guys that I was working with. I was very proud of that.
Yeah, you should be.
But I ran afoul because I was not doing the paperwork like I had to. And some of that was because I was lazy. Some of that was because I have ADHD. And a lot of it was because dosing started at 6 a.m. out in Grays Harbor. I had to be there at 5:30. I had to leave my house at 4:30 in the morning. And a lot of times I was coming back after a comedy show and I didn't get home till 1 or 2. I was going
Yeah.
to open mics in Seattle and Portland because I was completely addicted to comedy. And it's funny, I actually went in and told my boss, I was like, hey, I don't think this is working. I'm thinking about resigning in October. And he was like, how about August?
Was
So
that, and what year was that?
that must have been 2015. So it's probably like a year in. And then I
Uh-huh.
went back to school to get my bachelor's at Evergreen State College. And I wound up with a liberal arts degree from Evergreen. And then I started working, I was a violence prevention specialist. And I was working in schools and working at shelters in Tacoma. I was working out in Grays Harbor, not Grays Harbor, Gig Harbor, Key Peninsula area with a lot of youth in high schools, running groups. I loved it. I was working my own grant and then doing stand up. It worked a lot better for stand up because my schedule was a lot more flexible. And then COVID hit, killed stand up. And I was just, and after, and it killed the schools too. And then I just worked at that shelter during the pandemic, and it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah. It definitely, pandemic years were, yeah, something that we all have
Yeah,
for
it was a
sure.
mess.
Do you have any regrets of your past?
Do you mean before I got sober or
I
after or
mean,
any?
whenever. I mean, they've all
Not
made you
really.
they've all made you
Yeah.
you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't really think it, I don't really think about it like that. Like obviously there's things that went really sideways. Sometimes I wonder, like this is what's funny about regrets is that like I wonder if I would have just like stayed away from substances all the way, just never started. What I could have been, like how, but I have a hard time seeing me any happier than I am now, even if I had never gotten high in the first place. Like,
Hmm.
I honestly, like, for the most part, like, I have a therapist, I have a recovery program, I have a wonderful family, I have a great community here in Olympia. Some people are in recovery, some people aren't, a lot of people in the middle somewhere. Like my life is dope right now. I do comedy full time. I've been doing it's been my full time job for 3 years.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah, it's crazy. It's hard sometimes, but it's easier now than it used to be because I got thick skin now. I don't get down if I don't get a gig or something. I know what the score is, bastards.
What comedians have influenced you from a comedic standpoint?
You know what's funny is a lot of my influences is like watching like In Living Color and like weird like sketch comedy stuff, and then honestly like I know that I'm gonna sound like a turd right now because there are stand-up comedians I like, but a lot of the funniest people I know are people that I was locked up with or people I was in rehab with or people I knew when I was a bouncer at a bar. Because when I first got sober, well, long before I did stand up, I was a bouncer. I was a bouncer and a dishwasher, and I worked in a warehouse. And like a lot of people in my like Olympia community or whatever, like my jokes in a weird way are kind of like our jokes. Like obviously like I didn't take them from somebody, but like this is the stuff that me and my friends laugh about. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like I am directly like my friend Jay Ruby, or like this dude named Brad, who's kind of a piece of shit, but he made me funnier. I don't know. He did a lot of ketamine. It was really confusing. He was like this miserable prick, right? He was like this miserable dude. He was always such a drag. And then like every couple months he would come around and he'd be like, "Guys, you're not gonna believe what happened." I'm like, "You did ketamine?" Because whenever you're not on ketamine, you're a piece of shit.
Well, and so Bouncer, I mean, for the people listening at home or even watching, they might not recognize that you're like 800 feet tall.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
actually, I can't believe
That,
most people don't actually get it exact, but that is,
yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
exactly
I memorized.
800 feet
the
tall.
form. Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah.
guess 700, so I was way off.
Mm-hmm.
I am
Way
800
off.
and I am 70,000 pounds. The only thing bigger than me is that fungus in Mount Rainier National Park. Do you know about that?
No,
They
what
said
is
there's
that?
like they said the largest living organism in the world is like this fungus in Mount Rainier National Park, and that's the only thing bigger than me. I'm basically
Wow.
just like 6 blue whales glued together, and it's hard to get the glue to work because they're all wet. So, but we did it.
That's a visual. That's a visual.
See, and that explains why you look so close to the camera, because, I mean, you need a
Yeah.
big room to,
Yeah.
like, interview in.
Yeah, I actually got a real estate photographer filming me right now, so it's works out pretty well.
So, one of the things we love over at the Sober Curator, we're obsessed with pop culture. And I just throw the word sober in front of it so we can make it feel like it fits in. But it really does, because popular media over the years has definitely influenced us. And I have really I love watching movies where addiction, alcohol and substance use disorder, mental health are like leading storylines. They don't have to be the only storyline, but if they're part of it, it's always going to get my attention. So what are do you have any movies or shows that like you really resonated with because of the storyline?
Yeah. Somebody asked me this the other day. It's such a fascinating question because I have kind of like two answers.
Okay.
And one of them is Flight with Denzel Washington.
I love
I thought
movie.
that was such an accurate depiction of like the hopelessness, and also it did such a good thing at depicting like right before he was actually sober for a while, and then like right before he needs like he can like relapsing at like the worst possible moment. Dude, I was sober for like 4 months one time, and I was on probation, and it was literally like my last probation appointment. I knew I was going to get UA'd, and I wound up smoking meth like the night before, and I hadn't done meth in like a year and a half. It was crazy. And I still to this day like don't understand. And then the other one is The Sopranos, which is a weird one, and Christopher Moltisanti. Yeah, because I'm rewatching it right now and noticing like a lot of different things, especially around like the portrayal of like abusive relationships, and also like enablers and like codependence, and like how that works like with Carmelo and too. I thought those were really great depictions of that. So
I'm curious, have you watched Loudermilk?
No.
So you might check it out. It's on, I think you can see it on Amazon. It's the guy from The Office. What's his name? It'll come to me. But basically it takes place in Seattle, and he's a peer counselor, a peer leader at a recovery group meeting. He was a former journalist for like a Rolling Stone kind of vibe. And it's definitely a dramedy. There's definitely a good mixture of comedy and drama mixed in. And it's just all the different characters that are in this group. And there's 3 seasons out. So I'd be interested what you think about it.
I've seen it kind of come across my deal. And I'll be honest, like my intake of like right now, like I just don't, the stuff that I'm full of shit too, because I watch a shitload of like NBA. I love like basketball, and so like I watch sports. A lot of NBA stuff, and I like that. But I might check it out. Yeah, I got a little bit more time. Like things are actually calming down a little bit in my life, so yeah, I'll check it out.
Well, so when you're relaxing and you're kicking back, what do you drink? Since you're not drinking
Oh,
vodka anymore.
boom! We got I got 2 LaCroix here,
Oh
both with
yeah.
stuff in it. Orange is
Mm.
my favorite. I'm a classic kind of guy. Sam Miller weird thing too is I do like hop water. I can't do the near beer. I don't tell anybody else what they should do with their own recovery and their own bodies.
Yeah.
And I can't do like non-alcoholic beer. That and I can't do pina colada jelly bellies either, which is funny. Um,
It's
that
very specific, Sam. It's
taste,
very specific.
I know. Well, anything that has that taste, like in kombucha, I can't do that. Anything that has that taste of fermentation, but I do love the taste of like hops. And so that's been my thing lately. I've been doing like hop water, but I would always like tell folks if you, because it might really trigger some folks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Yeah.
doesn't really mess with me, but like I cannot do like near beer. Like I heard this thing in recovery one time. They said non-alcoholic beer is kind of like making out with your cousin. You know, like like it's like you're not gonna have any weird kids or nothing, but like you might not want to do that. So
Well, and you're 13 or 14 years. Do I have that right?
16.
16. Shit, I don't know how to do math. So
Wow.
that's a long time.
Mhm.
And I know from experience of having 18 years, not to be like I'm older than you, but I am.
That was such a flex.
I know, such a flex. But there weren't any of
Today's
those
the most
options.
important. So
Yeah, today is
Yeah.
yeah, sure, okay, whatever. But none of those options existed back then, except for O'Doul's, right? And so when I started trying things probably around 4 or 5 years ago, I was a little bit nervous because I had been like, I just stuck to bubbly water and Diet Coke, you know?
yeah.
So I was nervous, and some things I've tried and it's been totally fine, not a big deal. I don't even finish it. And then other things I've tried, and I'm like, oh, hell no. No.
I love the idea that like I think that the LaCroix and so like when I got sober, I started drinking like Coca-Cola. Like and I was drinking Coca-Cola the same way I drink beer and like that does not work. That's just too much sugar. I'll drink like a can of Coke maybe like once a week. I'll have like a soda or something and that's fine, you know. Just moderation, which is a funny word for me. But then I found LaCroix, right? And it wasn't very popular when I started. Like I was probably like it was probably 15 years ago I started drinking LaCroix. You can only find like 2 or 3 flavors, but then it blew up because I think people in recovery like we were drinking it a lot. Other people started drinking it too, and it was like, "Oh, cool, soda water. You can drink soda water and it's not so sweet and it's kind of like you got something to drink in your hand or whatever." And then they put booze back in it. Then they were like, "Oh yeah, White Claw," which
White
is
Claw.
it was the
But
weirdest
did you see
thing.
that there's an alcohol-free White Claw now? And I'm like,
That is
that's just water.
bonkers to me.
That's just
Yeah.
water.
Somebody told me the other day they were like, "Oh yeah, we have alcohol-free cider," and I'm like, "What? Apple juice?" Like, wow.
Wow. It's all marketing. It's
It's
all
really funny.
marketing.
It cracks me up. Because you know that Mitch Hedberg joke. I just kind of relates. Have you ever heard that Mitch Hedberg joke where he was like, "Oh, I was walking down the street the other day and I saw a wino eating grapes," and I was like, "Dude, you gotta wait."
All right, Sam. What do you do for fun when you're not obviously cracking yourself up? You got a wife and kids. You roll with
Ooh.
them.
I do. I do family activities. I will go to we went to the fair a while ago. Yeah, me and my kids. Sometimes my kids come on the road with me. We swim a lot in the summer. We have really awesome swimming spots we go to. Swim in the Toutle River a lot by Mount St. Helens. I got spots we go up there. But to tell on myself a little bit, I work very, very hard at stand up and I get a kick out of it. And a lot of my whatever extra time I have, if I'm not doing family stuff, I am dedicating to my profession. So
Yeah.
I have a podcast. that we just turned into a true crime podcast after recording 100 episodes about nothing, basically. And we're like, we'll do a true crime podcast. We have some listeners, but it's not great.
Is it on a true crime that happened in Olympia?
No, it's just different crimes that I find.
That's safe.
All right.
Yeah,
Not
sure. We'll do local stuff. We've only done like 3 of them, but I think we got a good thing going. We just changed it up. My wife came on the podcast and she was like, do you guys just talk about, is it always like this? Do you guys just talk about what you got going on? I was like, yeah. It's almost, I don't know what we were thinking. But yeah, I do that a lot. I was magnet fishing and I still magnet fish sometimes. So I have like really strong magnets and I'll go to bodies of water and look for metal stuff. It's kind of like the most, even though I'm sober, it's like some tweakers shit. So
what's
like,
the weirdest thing you've ever caught?
The weirdest thing I've ever caught. Oh, geez. I got a kitchen sink, like literally a kitchen sink. Jeez, it's hard. I get a lot of weird stuff. I get bikes all the time, which isn't weird, but it's kind of cool. Sledgehammer. I got a sledgehammer. That was pretty cool. I can't even tell you. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Do you have you gotten to the point where you're starting to get recognized when you're out and about? I mean, obviously you get recognized in Olympia by people that know you.
Yeah.
Like when you're out and about, when you're traveling, because you're on the road a lot.
Yeah. It's getting more and more as the online stuff is kind of picked up. Mm-hmm. So if I'm out on the road, it usually happens like 2 or 3 times a day. I'll have somebody. If I'm in the Northwest, that's like way more. It's strange sometimes because I don't mind like people saying, hey, I don't mind even people taking pictures and stuff. It's not that big of a deal at all. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. The thing that kind of weirds me out sometimes is when I know people recognize me and they don't say anything and they just kind of stare, or like there's been people that have like trying to take pictures of me without me noticing. Like without I've caught a couple people being
like, hey, you want to take a picture?
Yeah, it's just like, and that's kind of weird.
Paparazzi.
Yeah, and it's stupid too because I'm like very, very approachable, and like people know. I might put a thing out actually on my social media to be like, hey, like stop doing that.
Don't be weird.
Because honestly, sometimes it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because it's a little boost. It lets me know that like it is working. Like I am like becoming a more well-known comedian, which means that I can make better money. I can draw better, and that maybe someday I'd like to focus more on like writing jokes and instead of just promotion all the time. But I still write a lot of jokes, so it's okay.
Well, I'm looking forward to when you have your Netflix special or Amazon special or Hulu special, whatever platform it ends up on, and we can be like, we had them on the Sober Curator first.
You know what's cool? I have
a big moment for me.
I'm on Stand Up Records, and I have vinyl, and I actually have a comedy special out on Amazon. Like, it's not on Amazon Prime. Like, you can just buy it on Amazon. And if you're broke, you can watch it on Tubi for free.
Oh.
And they'll have like ads on it and stuff. It's called Round Trip, and I'm really proud of it. I recorded it at the Capitol Theater in downtown Olympia. That's which is the last place I woke up on June 10th, 2008. I woke up in front of that theater, and then I recorded my first comedy special there. And I'm getting ready to record I'm getting ready to record my second comedy special too. So, that's going to be this in the spring. So that'll be really.
I'm just surprised that there hasn't been more things that have popped off in the greater Seattle area, because there really hasn't.
I've done a fair amount of sober-ish shows, some sober, but you know what I've always been interested in. I've always wanted to know like because I'll do a way different set than what you saw in Tacoma.
Yeah,
I can do more jokes. Yeah, I can do more jokes about drugs, and also I have jokes that are very specific to recovery that don't even make sense to regular people, right? You know.
Well, we have our own language for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tamara, you've been pretty quiet.
I've just been taking this all in. I do have one question.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about how you're a big guy, right? Mm-hmm. Next to the Mount Rainier.
Fungus. Yeah.
How many LaCroix, or how do you pronounce it? I'm Canadian.
LaCroix
do you drink per day? Because I saw you double fisting there, and I'm
Yo.
like, that's a man after my own heart. Like, I'm always got a couple drinks.
I will drive sometimes. Like, I'll have like a 6-hour drive, and I'll kill like 7 or 8 of them.
Yes. Oh yeah, not quite a case, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flex again, Sam. But
hit me.
I'm on the LaCroix list. Like, they send me stuff every month.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. They so cool. Last Christmas, they sent me a little Christmas tree with little mini ornaments that hung off of it. It is a prized possession.
If I just tag them on like an Instagram post or
just
something,
start tagging. Yeah,
they'd probably hit me up. Yep. I'm really new to like the social media like success, so it's really strange because I'm figuring it out all the time. Yeah, and if that doesn't work,
we can make a can that's as big as you, Sam, just to stand next to.
800 feet tall.
800 feet tall. Yes.
Probably that'd be awesome.
Why don't you tell our audience all the places they can find you?
Sam Miller, comedian on Instagram, Sam Miller Comedy on Facebook, sammillercomedy.com on the internet.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah. And my biggest thing, like, I work really hard at my social media. I'm really proud of it. It's going well right now. But I do that because I want people to come see me perform comedy live. You watched the clips, probably. You've seen them before, at least before you came to the live show.
I did.
And my live show is a totally different ballgame.
100 million times better. But the clips are great, but you're hilarious in real life. All right, my friend. Well, this is not the last time the Sober Curator audience was going to see you. So we're just really glad that we got some time with you today.